Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our Survivor 45 episode 3 predictions and power rankings. We are getting into this already 3 hours of Survivor. What a weird feeling going into just episode number 3. Today we're joined by Lindsay Carmine from Survivor 43. Hope everybody's excited to have her on. She's been a listener for a little bit, and we're very happy to have her here. Got to meet her at the Bryce and Wen event back in May, and she knew who we were. I was like, "Hi, Lindsay," and she's like, I know you. And that always feels good and
the coolest feeling.
Hot somewhere, you know. So you might be getting the giant. I always joke that I'm going to build the giant head statues of Michelle and Gabler in my backyard. I'm going to have to build like a smaller version of you because you knew who I was at that event. So that's really awesome.
Well, thank you. I mean this in like the least creepy way possible, but like I used to fall asleep to y'all's voices every single night.
I could cry.
It is really hard. So when I got like so deep in the casting process where like I knew I was going to be playing at some point, I was in the thick of like COVID. I was a COVID nurse. I was taking care of 100% of my patients were COVID patients, and I was homeschooling my kids, and my husband was having to deal with his job, and it was utter chaos. And so I had to find like small pockets of time to be able to study for the game. And sometimes it was like right before I'd go to bed. So I'd like put in my headphones and I'd fall asleep listening to you guys. And you guys have really helped the way that I played the game. I know the outcome wasn't the way that I wanted it to be, but you guys gave me some really insightful information, and I appreciate it. I love you guys.
That is awesome. Yeah. That might be the coolest compliment we've ever gotten.
I appreciate that. That's always nice because we haven't played, and we try to keep it in the perspective of people who haven't played. But there's got to be something useful that we're saying, right? I mean, Tommy
absolutely
won
would hope
very openly.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Like I'm always fascinated by how people prepare for the show, but I can't imagine preparing for the show while being a frontline COVID nurse at the same time. That's crazy. That's wild.
Honestly, it kept me sane. You know, I actually feel bad for my coworkers because I would work all day taking care of COVID patients, stressed out about if I was going to get sick. Because again, back then, like we had no idea what the outcome was going to be. And I would come home and I would collapse from a long day of work, and I'd check in on my kids and I'd deal with all that. But then I got to live in like this alternate world where I got to fantasize about playing for Survivor. And it was actually the thing that like, it saved me during this time. And I was also going through the casting process of David versus Goliath. And at that time, our house flooded and we ended up having to go live in a hotel for 2 months while we had to deal with like major reconstruction in this house. And again, like going through that casting process while I was living in a hotel. And I remember like I was training in the hotel gym, and they were asking for like pictures of me on my property in front of our house with my kids. Cause that was kind of my storyline, was like, I'm this mom, this nurse that like lives in the woods, and they wanted to see all that. And so we'd have to like pull into the driveway where like we weren't even living in our house at the time. And we're having to take like family photos that they could use for like my casting videos. And I'm like, I'm not even living at my house right now. But again, I'm so grateful for Survivor because it really did help me get through probably some of the hardest times that I've ever experienced in my life. So
yeah, I think that was like a really cool thing during that time. And obviously a different experience, but that was the time when Russell Hantz was doing the Survivor Top 100. And we were really involved with that. And that was great because that kept me very sane during that time. That was the time of year where I wasn't working at all. I didn't know when I was going to get a job back or anything like that. So it I agree with what you're saying. Like you're living in this fantasy world, and I would put together my top 100 and be like, this is important. This is people need to hear this. Like this is very
the people need to know.
When in reality, it was just kind of keeping me sane. And you know, my wife was like, "Oh, good, you have something to do." That's nice.
Go play with your toys. Would you have been a David or a Goliath?
I think that's why they ended up not casting me. They said they were having a really hard time trying to figure out if I was a David or a Goliath. I was actually, so when I went out to finals, it was like the last couple of casting cycles that they brought everybody out to LA before they kind of switched it over to, I mean, Zoom has like changed the casting process completely.
Interesting.
But I went out to LA in October, and then again in December. Lynn Spillman was the casting director at the time. And So it was just fun. Like I got in trouble with Alec. I almost got sent home because of it. Because we got caught like chit chatting at the bar. And
Love
then
that.
Troublemaker from the start, huh? Like
Yeah.
this guy, it's not surprising with his F it, right? Like it's not shocking.
No. And I remember we were sitting out by the pool and I had like ordered a beer and Alec looked over at me and he was like, "Can we drink a beer?" And I was like, "Nobody told me I couldn't." And I was trying to be relevant. I was trying to, when you look around at everybody that you're in the casting process with, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm one of the oldest people here. You're trying to find ways to like have people relate to you. I wanted to be like the cool older mom. Right. And so finally, like one of the casting associates like taps on my shoulder and she's like, "Lindsay, you were drinking a beer. Why are you drinking a beer?" And I was like, I'm trying to be relevant. Well, they ended up making us take our IQ and our EQ test later that day. And they're like, "Lindsay, you have to take your IQ test here in a little bit." And then come to find out I got like the highest IQ score out of like anybody in that session. It was hilarious.
That's confidence.
Yeah. I think it was because like I was a little bit loose, right? So yeah, I stand by that. I stand by having a drink or two before you take an IQ and EQ test.
I love that so much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that it was Alec because, obviously that whole situation with Alec, he got in so much trouble for posting pre-thing. So he was always kind of pushing the rules. I think what's funny though about COVID, and then we'll jump into season 45 here, but I think what's funny about COVID is pre-COVID, they don't know what to do with you. But I think if they had casted you on David versus Goliath post-COVID, if they like came up with a theme again, I think they would have automatically probably put you as a Goliath because you went through the COVID frontline worker thing, and that would have made you an auto Goliath. There was a different view of nurses pre-COVID than there was during COVID. So
completely.
Yeah, I think that would have been huge.
Completely. And when I sent in my application for, let's see, that would have been the 42, 43 cycle, I just kept saying to them, like, here I am as a frontline worker. I'm busting my butt. I'm, at the end of my rope, but I'm also here saying to you guys, I want to play Survivor. Like being a COVID nurse isn't hard enough. Homeschooling my kids isn't hard enough. What I'm going through in my everyday life isn't hard enough. I want to throw myself into the hardest challenge in my life. But before I forget, the whole reason I brought up casting was because my second time that I went to LA, I was with Natalie from David versus Goliath and Reem from season 38.
Oh, amazing.
Right. But when you're not speaking to each other, you really don't get who they are. And so I just kept thinking to myself, like, oh, I got this. Like, of course they're going to choose me over Natalie and Reem. And then I found out like 6 weeks before that I got cut before we were supposed to fly out to Fiji. And then it took me like watching David versus Goliath and then Reem's season to understand. I was like, okay, that's why they got picked over me.
You're like, I get that.
Yeah. I was like, I get it. I would have chosen them too. So they were great TV. I love Reem and Natalie. So
that's awesome.
They were great.
It was fun.
But all right, so let's jump into Survivor 45. Then. We're 2 episodes in. We're going to be ranking the top 16 players now on this season. There are still 4 people from Yellow. I think it's only because we've only done 2 episodes. They're trying to get rid of that tribe as fast as possible, but there are still 4 of them. What are you thinking about the season? And as a diehard Survivor fan, 90-minute episodes. How's that feeling?
I'm so jealous they're getting 90-minute episodes. I'm one of those people that I'm like, I want to be happy for you and happy for me at the same time. I'm not the type of person that is jealous in any way. I think there's enough goodness for everybody to go around, but I would be lying if I said that I'm not super jealous of like all the fanfare that season 45 is getting right now. And I love it as a fan. Like, don't get me wrong. Any attention that gets brought to like the greatest television show and game on earth is always going to bring me joy. I think I'm just bummed out because I think our season would have been a lot better if we could have had 90-minute episodes as well. I got to be honest, like first impression when I saw the cast photo, I was like, do I really love these people? Like, I wasn't wowed like I normally am, but I put my faith and trust in casting because I think they do an incredible job. And the more I got to like listen to their pregame press and read some of their bios, I kind of picked out my favorites, and I'm enjoying the season. I absolutely love it. My take is like more Survivor is always better, right? So, so yeah, I'm having a really good time watching.
Yeah,
So-
it's so much fun with the extra like it's only like 20 extra minutes. Like it's not even that long, but just especially for the tribes that are winning, and like you guys had one of those tribes too. It just allows for more time to get to know each other, like because we usually get to know only the tribe that's losing very well.
I talked about it a lot on the Patreon after show that I do. And I was saying how this was the first time in Survivor history that the second episode of the show had a confessional by every player, which
That's
is blows my mind.
I saw that.
Because even season 1 didn't have it. Dirk didn't have a confessional in season 1, episode 2. So every season has not had that until this season.
Wow.
And I think about your season because everybody thought Cass was going to win by the end of that. Everybody but me, because I was all in on the Gabler Galleon. But everybody thought Cass was going to win by the end of that. However, she was not getting the Michelle and Gabler content of why is this person getting this early on.
Yeah.
And it kind of tips the hand. I was looking at back in season 39, going back a little bit. Dean didn't have a confessional the first 2 episodes. And then we're supposed to believe that he is the biggest adversary for Tommy. It happened a lot. And now obviously Erica's edit was just a disaster. That was just like shameful. But everybody else, generally the winners are getting content throughout, even when they don't deserve it. So it's easy to write people off. But last week, every single person got a confessional. So you can't just start writing people off automatically because they're going out of their way to show us these people.
Yeah. But I also feel like they've kind of figured out Edgic and how we're guessing how well players are going to do in the game based off of like the confessionals that we're getting and stuff. I mean, look at Erica. Look at the type of edit that she got. She didn't get a winner's edit, right? Marianne, would you say Marianne got a winner's edit? I don't think so. I didn't see that one coming. So I feel like as the seasons go on, they're trying harder and harder to make it so we can't figure out who the winner is.
Yeah. And like, again, we're only 2 episodes in, but it feels like we're 4 episodes in. It hasn't even been, it's still only 3 hours worth, but still, I feel like there's 10 people who could win. And even with like day-to-day vote outs, like when they went to tribal council last week, I really could not tell who was going to go home. And like between the 2 of them, and that is like the tension that I've missed so much. And, you know, challenges are, I feel like generally undervalued. And so I thought, you know, challenges versus like who's well liked. And then they ended up voting the person who I actually didn't expect them to. So it just, they're keeping it fresh still. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing though, is like when I have to do preseason fantasy pools and stuff like that, there's so many aspects of the game that we can't count on in order for us to be able to figure out like who's going to win the game, right? When you talk about advantages or, you know, any type of, what are they called? Where they go out? Oh my God, why is my brain not working right now? Journeys. Like there's so many different factors in this game. Like, and we can talk about it when we talk about episode 2, but like at the very end, when they show us scenes for episode 3, like I wasn't expecting, who was it? Sabaya to talk about maybe wanting to get Caleb out. I wasn't expecting Dee to start talking about, who was Dee talking about? Let me see.
True.
Yeah, true. Again, these aren't things that I saw coming. If you had asked me at the beginning of episode 1 or the end of episode 1, like would I have seen, I'm sorry, I'm getting these names, Sabaya and Caleb turning on each other, I wouldn't have. But again, we can talk about all that when we go through the rankings and like why I chose who. So
I mean, it's the topic on everybody's mind because of the first 2 episodes and how they went. And you went out early, but you were a diehard fan. So I just want to ask, even though you didn't go play the full 26 days or whatever it is, as somebody who is a diehard fan, clearly Hannah didn't want to be there and she quit. Brandon, it looked like it was physically too much for him. So we had 2 people from opposite ends of the Survivor fandom coming out there, and it was too much for them physically, it seemed like. What do you think is getting lost? What was your experience like that seems like it's getting lost? And what advice would you have for players who are considering going if they're kind of towing that line of, should I do this, should I not?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Brandon first. And with my experience, and I kind of talked a little bit about this on Twitter, but I was prepared 100% to play this game. I was prepared physically, mentally, strategically, in the sense that like I feel like I did everything that I possibly could to set myself up for success when I got out there. I had 2 to 3 different gym memberships at a time. I was, I feel like physically I was one of the strongest females on my season.
Mhm.
But when I woke up the day of the marooning, we woke up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to shower. We had to get our clothes on. We had to go get last minute COVID tests, medical checks, security checks to make sure we weren't hiding anything. And that took so long that when I went to sit down and have breakfast, I got like maybe half a hard boiled egg. And casting was like, Lindsay, you need to hurry up and go get in your line. We're about to start. And I was like, wait, like this isn't what my last meal is supposed to be. And so I'm freaking out. We get put in a boat and they don't explain anything to you. You're along for the ride.
Mhm.
And we're on this boat and the guys like hand us some sunscreen. I'm like, do we need sunscreen right now? Like, are we going to be on the boat this long? And they're like, you're going to be on the boat for a long time. And it felt like 6 hours of us being on that boat, driving to the marooning, turning back around, driving back again, drone shots, other boats recording. Like, it's a lot. It is. And you're sitting here in the Fijian sun. We've been hibernating in Pennsylvania all winter. So you're not used to the sun. You're getting sunburnt. And the sun is physically draining you. And then you're pulling up and you see the marooning. There's 400 production and camera crews. I start crying. I knew exactly how Hannah and Brandon were feeling when they started crying. I was crying leading up to the marooning and I kept drying my eyes like, Lindsay, this cannot be like everyone's like first impression of you is like bawling, crying. And so I'm like drying my eyes. We get out there. It's overwhelming. That's the part that you can't plan for. No matter what you do, you cannot plan for the amount of stress that you feel because you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. On top of the anxiety that you get, like it's now on me. It's now on me to entertain these people, to be good TV, right? To be a good player. And so we're going through the challenge. You're exhausted. You're already exhausted before you even start the marooning challenge. And I remember when I was, after James and I had solved the puzzle, I get up to take the bamboo and get the flint down. And I'm staring up and the Fijian sun is just beating into my eyes and I get lightheaded. And I swear to God, y'all, I thought I was going to pass out. And those are moments that you can't explain to people. So when everyone's like, how did she shit the bed? Like at the very end of that challenge, that's why you're lightheaded, you're weak, your brain's not working properly. And so I felt for Brandon when I saw him struggling out there. I knew exactly what he was going through. What I love about Brandon is that he didn't give up. Right. And in my everyday life, like I'm not a quitter. I don't quit anything. You would literally have to drag me off that island. And so I was extremely frustrated with Hannah because I feel like you have up to 10 months. Let's say you get a call in August or September through the casting process and you fly out, or let's say April, you have a lot of time to prepare for this game. And you have a lot of conversations with casting and a lot of different people in casting about what this process is like. There is an unmeasurable amount of resources out there on the internet between podcasts and books and shows and, Reddit feeds, anything. There's so much stuff that you can do to prepare for this game. If you ever want to know what it's like to prepare for Survivor and like actually living in the game, like go participate in a Spartan race. Okay. Like starve yourself for 5 days, maybe drink like half a bottle of coconut water, eat unripe papaya and maybe a fish that's like this small. I want you to go sleep in my yard in the dirt for like a night. Okay. With no fire. I want there to be like 45-mile-an-hour winds, like blowing at you. And then I want you to wake up and then and then I want you to stand in like an ant pile for like 3 minutes. Okay. Because if you guys saw in episode 2, did you see all the ants that were like climbing on the trees?
Oh,
When you're collecting firewood out there, that's what the firewood is. It's nothing but ants. Nobody warned me about the ants. I was prepared for the bugs and
no
the
one
mosquitoes
talks
and
about
stuff.
that.
Nobody talks about the ants. My entire arms were like swollen from all the like fire ant bites that I had. And you're walking, you have to collect firewood, right? And so those are the things that you need to do before you go out there. Because, and I remember listening to Hannah at some point, she was like, I sleep with like a sound machine and a face mask. And she was talking about all these things that she needs in order to go to sleep. And I was like, what convinced you that this was a good idea? And I know she's a newer fan, and like I try not to do the new fan versus old fan. Hey, I've been a fan for 23 years, but you've only been a fan for 3 years. Like, I want everybody to love Survivor. I want everybody to play Survivor. But and I know what it's like to have this game taken away. When I was supposed to be cast on season 42, the night before I was supposed to fly out, I got a call saying that I tested positive for COVID.
Oh.
And y'all, when I say, and this was back in the day when like you had to quarantine for 14 days. So I was told, not only am I not going to play Survivor, but I had to sit in my bedroom for 14 days and stay away from everyone I loved and my entire support group, and just think about what was just taken from me. And then you also realize, and I was talking to Dr. Eliza, our psychologist, afterwards, because she knew I was like in a really dark place afterwards. And she said to me, I can't promise you're ever going to get this chance back. Like, I want you to be able to play again, but I can't promise. And so when I think about that pain that I went through, and then I see somebody out there quit, it's incredibly frustrating,
Yeah, it was.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't too long.
No,
But
that was my heart rate like tripled when you were talking about the, because I guess I've never heard about the ants, but like the wind and the cold, like I've heard that, and I like think, quote unquote, I could do that, but I know I probably couldn't. But the waking up at 2 a.m. and like just going back and forth on the boat, I didn't realize they reshot that like probably 10 times. Like that, how could anyone prepare for that? There's nothing you can do to mentally prepare for that.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest takeaway was exactly what you just said there, and that's why it's so nice to have you on at this time that we're having you on. Because when I felt like old man yelling at cloud on the internet that day, the day after Hannah's quit. And it was very easy for people to chalk it up to like, oh no, she took this spot from the 40-year-old man who's complaining about it. It's like, no, she didn't take my spot. I know she didn't take my spot, but it's called empathy, right? Like you can empathize with other people. And I can imagine how that would feel for me, because I've had things taken from me that I've wanted and not gotten, or been close and thought it was going to happen and it doesn't happen. And when it gets taken away, it sucks. So I can empathize with that person. And I thought it was funny that there was this divide of like, empathize with the quitter, but don't empathize with the person who is sitting at home going, you've got to be kidding me. Because that might have been the first time they found out, for all we know, because who knows if they communicated with their cast. We don't know.
Yeah. The alternate, I hope that alternate's going to win 47.
Yeah.
Like they literally have to win.
Yeah. Here's what and it might be out there, I just haven't seen anybody talk about. When you are now on tribes of 6, okay, you now only have 5 other people that you can rely on. And so much is stripped from you out there. So there's so many factors that you want to consider when what's going to save my sanity out there, right? You want people that you can get along with. Okay. There's nothing worse than having 2 people in a tribe that are just causing tribe division and are just bringing negative energy and vibes to your tribe. You also want to make sure that you stay tribe strong. You need strength in these beginning challenges in order to advance in the game. And when you take somebody like Hannah, who's young and strong, and she's an asset in these challenges and not a liability, and you take her out of the game, that's screwing everybody else over. Yes, you're saving a spot for Brandon. Yes, you're saving that spot for Emily. But what about Emily and Brandon, who are relying on you to be an ally there, to be a vote out there with them? Those are things that people don't consider when you're like, oh, well, just let her quit, right? But Brandon seemed to want to work with her. Maybe they could have turned around. I don't know. I know that they were planning on voting. Who were they going to vote out?
They were going to
Brandon?
vote out. Yeah. They were going to
Emily?
It was because Kendra voted for Brandon, but I think it was going to go Emily.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
let's jump into who's left.
okay.
let's start ranking them. So
Okay.
ranking them 1 to 16. So 1 is who you think is the safest, 16 is who you think is
Okay.
going home. We
Just
start
for
with
this
1,
week.
we work our way back. If you have somebody, if like I throw out my number 1 and you're like, and then I say who it is and you're like, it's my number 2, and then go back into your 1, that's fine. But we try not to get like 5 or 6 people ahead. So we're just going to rank them. Doesn't necessarily have to be who you think is going to win. But there are, I mean, at this point, I would call it you have the Eagles and the Niners, and then you have the Carolina Panthers. And so it's like, I'm doing this because I know Lindsay's an Eagles fan and she was watching it before this. So she has that understanding of you have 2 undefeated teams that don't look like they can be beaten. And then you have a team that like can't be within 20 points of anyone. So the Yellow Tribe, I just like, is anybody putting a Yellow Tribe player in their top 5? This is a serious, like, I'm just wondering.
1, 2, no.
What was the question in top 5?
Is there a Yellow Tribe player in your top 5?
I have one because I'm
Wow.
being contrarian.
Ooh.
Okay, good. So good. Alexa with the hot take, because I don't have any.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it.
I'm ready to just put them all at the bottom, and it's not all their fault, but we'll talk about it. But Lindsay, who do you have at number 1?
Okay, so we said number 1 is the person that I think safest, correct?
Safest person, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Brando.
Okay.
Same. Puzzle Queens.
I do. I had a really I feel like he had a really great episode. I love this like power couple thing that him and Kelly have going on. I feel like Kelly is the middleman in her tribe. Oh, first of all, let me tell you guys like how I broke this down. So what I did was I said, okay, who's the best tribe? I think it's Bello, then Reva, then Lulu. Then I categorized each person and their ranking within the tribe. And then I kind of moved them over to my list based off of the top 2 to 3 people that I think are in their tribe. And then I kind of worked my way down, because what I've learned in Survivor is like anything can happen. And so while I think Lulu is the weakest tribe, they could win, guys. Like they could win a challenge at some point, right? So I want to keep that in mind when I'm giving you my rankings. So anyway, Brando is the person that I think is safest for next episode.
I feel the same way. I have him and Kelly is my number 2. I think that they like they're both like kind of in the middle. I think Brando, I guess we saw kind of both their perspectives on it, and both of them they're like the puzzle duo, and they're succeeding at it. And I feel like being the puzzle person, it's like the Bradley and Kellen kind of thing. Like they were so good at it. So I think for them both to have that, and especially for them to have like that really good chemistry and challenges, I think they're both in a great position. So they're kind of an interchangeable 1 and 2 for me.
Yeah. I agree with, so I'm going to go back to what Lindsay said about anything can happen in Survivor. I do think Brandon going home is going to help Yellow. So as much as I'm going to roast Yellow on this podcast, if Yellow is going to win, this is the episode. I feel like this is the episode that they'll pull it off, because it seemed like Brandon was holding them back a little bit in the puzzle, because I don't think Sabaya was the brains that they wanted there. I think they were putting her there because maybe she's not as physical as we think she's going to be. So she'll go do the puzzle with somebody who's supposed to be really good at the puzzle. Brandon wasn't. I can almost guarantee Emily's probably pretty good at puzzles and could have been able to do it. So I do think from that perspective, it'll help. I also think it really helps that we don't do the same sit outs into straight challenges anymore. So now these other tribes are going to have to sit out 2 people and really consider, who are we willing to sit out next immunity challenge while they're doing this. So I think there's a couple added layers there. I love Brando and Kelly, but I won't put them at 1 and 2 because, we got to have some contrarian takes here. We got to have a good time. I'm going to go with Austin at number 1. I think that he is going to find this idol, this advantage this episode, or he might have already found it and they're just really dragging this out so that they have a storyline to show us over on Red. And maybe he found it on day 3, but they tell us he finds it on day 5 or something like that. I could see that happening. So I really like his positioning. There's a core 4 there. And it seems like Dee and Drew might have a little tiff this week, but there's a core 4 that has been established. I mean, you go and you look at all the edgic and whatever, look at the confessionals. It's pretty clear that those 4 are for real more than anything. And if 90-minute episodes are doing anything for us, it's giving us an insight into who these people are. And then at number 2, I will put Dee, who found found my tweet, and
It's because she liked our tweet.
No, not only that, she posted it on her Instagram. She put my tweet on Instagram. That's all it is. I'm telling you.
The D stuff is
I like you.
I can't. The D stuff is too much for me this week.
The toes? Triggered by the toes?
It's a little too much for me.
I
love that she posted Phil's tweet that I will take credit for because my name's attached to it.
Yeah, no, it was me, 100%. Alexa had to look up real quick. She's like, okay, Quentin, who is
like
this?
wiki feed?
Yeah, no, I think Austin and D though are the I'm the most comfortable with the two of them on that. And I think that this D Drew thing is going to be blown up for no real reason. I think that this is an editing trick, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's actually going to matter. I think that we have now seen D catch two people. She caught Sifu and then she catches Drew. So I actually think that if anything, this tells me Drew's in a little bit more trouble because D is being perceptive and she can go and tell everybody who seems close with her, this guy's not being truthful to us. So why should we trust him? So I have Austin 1, I have D2. So I went the red tribe before I went the blue tribe. That's really, even though I think blue's probably stronger. So maybe I should have gone blue first.
It's fun that they're both pretty evenly matched. And I think blue has more of the characters, but red has more of a solid alliance. So it's fun that there's some competition between the tribes. No shade to yellow, but maybe a little.
I mean, that was one of the closest challenges in Survivor history, but it didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
I see a lot of parallels between their tribe dynamics and our tribe dynamics from 43. Like I feel like Coco was the strongest tribe. Anyway, I do have D and Austin, or who do I have? D. All right, never mind. Keep talking. Sorry, I'm looking at.
I wanted to put you on the spot.
My order. Okay.
For 3. So go ahead, Alexa.
So I have D at number 3 as well. I would have jumped on that if I had looked, but that's a really good point about her being perceptive. I hadn't thought of that so much, but she is someone. So when Julie was like rounding up the troops to create this core 4, because she is the one who did this, or her and Drew, but she said D is my number 1. And we actually heard Julie say that. I don't think we heard, D was too busy talking about her toes to talk about who her favorite alliance member was. So I actually think that's huge for her because she doesn't necessarily have to show her cards, but people want to work with her. Also, I'm not being funny with this. She's clearly like doing well in challenges. And I think that, that's going to matter, especially like with the way the season's going so far. So I think we see her in a solid alliance. She's good at challenges. And she also has a sense of humor, which at this point in the game, I feel like people will sort of look for any excuse to get rid of someone. And the kind of lighthearted, goofy girl, I think that's great.
She reminds me of, and it's I think it's a weird comparison. She reminds me of Marianne, where she is just leaning into who she is. And I thought she was going to go out there. I mean, I live in the Miami area. Lex and I went to Miami. Like the Miami person who's, I'm an entrepreneur and look at me, I'm very good looking. And like, that's all you need to know. She's not leaning into that. When they started showing her talking to Austin or kind of being kind of flirtatious with Austin, whatever it was supposed to be, that's not the area they went. Instead, they turned around and said, no, she's going to talk about how her toes are abnormally long. And that was so much different than what you normally see from, air quotes, the eye candy casting choice. So for me, she kind of reminds me of Marianne, where she's leaning into who she is. She doesn't really care how it's being perceived, but it's being perceived really, really well by the tribe. So I think it's huge. And I'm all about the fact that we're getting laughing content rather than crying content from these castaways this year. Yes, there is something funny about people. They have funny lives. They're not just miserable every moment of their lives. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent with D. I've got her a little bit in the middle. I need more content from her. So before I can put her a little bit higher up or a little bit lower. Yeah.
She has third. She is tied for the 3rd most confessionals on that tribe. So Drew is well above everybody else. Then Austin, and then Sifu and D both have 4, but D had 2 in each episode. Sifu was front loaded in episode 1.
Okay.
So Drew is an excellent narrator. I know we're not talking about.
I love Drew.
Yeah.
Is that great? Is that your number 3? Is that where you're going? No.
I stuck with the the Bello tribe. I think Katura is in a really great spot. So she's my number 3. I love her because I think she's going to stay strong with this girls' alliance. And I think should they go to tribal council, she's going to go for Bruce. I think, and I think she could, based on her position in the tribe, really be able to pull those numbers and get him out. I think her and Kendra are super tight. I think if she were to bring in Kelly and Brando and get them to sway her way, I think she could be running that tribe.
I love a one-sided rivalry. I love her so much.
It is. Bruce is probably watching this back right now, and it's the Mean Girls thing of why are you so obsessed?
Yeah.
What did I do to you? It's so ridiculous. And I really like Katara, and I think she's going to be long to the game.
She's awesome.
But man, this is reminding me of Ellie and Gabler to an extent where Ellie, it did not work out well for her, and she was the one who was talking about it so much more than Gabler didn't even know it feels like it was going on until the merge. So I am a little concerned for Katara, and so I went with Kelly as my number 3 here. So I know you both already had her too. So I go Kelly. I wanted to put Katara high. She was a preseason winner pick of mine. Like, I really like her, but Kelly, I think, had the most important confessional of that entire episode with the Bello tribe. They showed every single person from Blue, and they showed the girls were unbreakable. This is great. Jake and Bruce are broing out. They're doing what they have to do. Brando comes in. He's siding with the girls. And then Kelly comes in and she goes, I can go either way.
Yeah.
And I don't know which way I'm going to go. And when she gave that confessional, she was standing with the men. And part of me wonders, is Kendra a little much for her? Is that a little bit out of Kelly's wheelhouse? And then is Katara maybe a little too anti-Bruce right now? And maybe she doesn't want to get rid of that strength, because I think on that tribe, Bruce is the clear strength of the men out of Jake and Brando. I think he's the physical powerhouse there. So I wonder if she would go that route. And I'm not convinced that she's going to side with the women. I'm not completely convinced she's going to side with the men, but either way, she's in that swing position. So I think she's in the best spot on the tribe.
So, Kelly's position in her tribe reminds me a lot of Carla's position in our tribe. We had the 3-girl alliance, me, Carla, and Cassidy, and then James was our 4th, so similar to where Brando's at. And then she also had the Ryan and Gio alliance going on, and she could sway either way. And this was something that I had a really hard time comprehending, but James did a really great job explaining it to me. The closer you get to the merge, the easier it is to let go of strength. Because if you've got that core 4 and it's just the 4 of you, you can afford to trim the fat there. You know, James kept saying to me, Lindsay, you're so obsessed with winning. And I am. I'm competitive. I hate to lose. Okay. So I had a one-track mind, and that was anything that we did out there needed to benefit us. So whether it was eating or staying warm or drinking lots of water, like whatever. And James was finally like, chill out. We can afford to trim the fat. We don't have to keep the strength anymore. And I'm wondering if Kelly's going to see it that way, you know, like we're at the point now where we can afford to lose 1 or 2 people from our tribe, and our main alliance is going to be able to make it to the merge. The question is going to be, who does she feel like she can advance with once the merge happens? Who's she going to pick? Who does she want to side with? My take is I think she's going to feel safer with the girls and with Brando than she is with the other 2 guys.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about everything you just said, I really agree with that. You know, once you get there, why keep the strength? But I almost wonder if Kelly's looking at it as, if she goes with Katara especially, it's a very similar game, I feel like, to what Kelly wants to play. She goes with those other 3, it's not that similar of a game. It's a totally different game, and she can use them as the meat shields once she gets the merge, even in their own unique way. Brando, you look at him and you go, that's a smart person. You just know. Yeah. You know, Bruce, I think, would be seen as a physical threat. And Jake would be somebody who, I don't know where he's going to fall in all of this, but I do feel like Jake, they're going to start saying to themselves, why did this guy get cast? What is his strength that got him here? I don't know if she can hide as well behind Katara and Kendra. And I think she's smart enough to see that and say, where do I want to go? That if, like, who am I best to align with? And also get far in the game and have them start saying, well, you should get rid of that person before you get rid of me. I think if she goes with the women, she might be the first person targeted if they start coming after the blue tribe.
Well, you also get to that point where you're like, okay, when you're a tribe that keeps winning and you don't have as many opportunities as you would like to maybe get rid of some of the threats before you hit the merge, you start to think to yourself, wait, if we only have one or two opportunities to get rid of somebody that is a threat to us, that is maybe once the merge hits, they're going to go out on their own and not work with me, and that's somebody that I need to work with, somebody that knows the game really well. Do we take this rare opportunity before the merge to go ahead and get them out?
Yeah.
So it depends on, and again, from a player who's already played, there's so much that we're not seeing, that they're not including, that is always in the back of my mind. Like, well, what are we missing? What are we missing? What are the conversations that we're missing? What are the relationships that we're missing?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we're missing, like, we can't factor in who goes on journeys. There's going to be a raid this next episode. So there's like a whole episode worth of, relationships being adjusted that we just can't account for.
Yeah. So where do we go at number 4 then, Lindsay? Where do you got?
I got Kendra. So I kind of paired Kendra and Katurah together. Do I think she's making big moves and she's this like strategic mastermind? No. But do I think she's somebody that's flying under the radar? She isn't a threat. If people aren't loving her, she's maybe somebody that you can get rid of later on down the road. But that might be a number and somebody that you can trust to vote with you. So I've got Kendra and Katurah paired up together. So Kendra is my number 4.
So you love the blue tribe. Is it because you
Kinda
wore
do.
blue?
It's blue.
You just have the top. You want me to just round it out for you, Bruce, at 5? And then...
No. Actually, you guys are going to be shocked where Bruce is on my list. But I do think if the Bello tribe does go to tribal council before the merge, I think it's going to be maybe once or twice. So this is actually like a safety spot, I think, for Kendra. Yeah, I think if they go once, I think Bruce is the guy to go, and then I think Jake. So
even though Jake is almost, what is he? He almost dies in the premiere. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
Yell his name loud.
Yeah.
I don't know. We saw this with Cole Metters, right? Back in season 35, where he passed out and they made a huge deal out of it. And then it ended up being that he just stood up too fast or something. And he So I think Jake will be fine. Jake is built like Cole Metters, but he's not quite Cole Metters. You know, he's really close.
Is he built like Cole?
He's so close. They have the same amount of body fat, no doubt about it.
Nana would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm going. That's one where Nana goes, "You look just like that guy, Jake."
Yeah. That nice boy.
I'm going with the absolutely ancient Julie for number 4. The oldest woman out there. I cannot believe that she got in. I am so pumped for her. I think, man, we could have our second coming of Janet Carbon just with a different accent, but I really like the prospect of Julie, and I think she's going to go deep. I think she paired up with Drew. Drew was so into it. They looked like Malcolm, but taller and, not the flowing hair and Denise, but she got in with him. And then Austin and Dee also voiced wanting to work with her. We heard nothing strategic from Sifu. We heard J. Maya talking about trying to figure out the puzzle and all of that, but that was the extent of it. She didn't try to do anything else. We don't know where she stands with anybody in that tribe, which makes me think she stands over there, somewhere away from them. Julie got in. And I'm really happy with this. Maybe I'm just excited that we finally have like the older woman who feels like she's made it into the grouping for the first time, I think, honestly, since Janet. I mean, on your season, it seemed like, Lindsay, sorry to be like the older woman, but on your
you're fine.
Right?
I'm the old. I was the oldest woman on my tribe. I was the oldest person on my tribe.
She was slamming a beer at casting. I don't know if you can qualify that.
These geriatrics just hammering beers and doing all that. But so I look at it like you looked like you were in, and then whatever happened in your episode happened in your episode. Like, I really feel like Julie is in a good spot, and I feel like Julie's personality is working with her tribe. I don't think the red tribe's going to go. Maybe they do, but I think J. Maya is an easy boot. And I think Sifu is kind of in what you're talking about, which is as they get closer and closer to the merge, do they need Sifu? If he's already untrustworthy, as Dee said, do we need that guy?
Yeah, I have Julie at number 4 too. I thought I was being very unique, but guess I was not. I think early on, like I said, people look for any excuse to get rid of people, and she like she was able to construct a whole alliance and every single
Mhm.
person was down for it. No one was like, "Ooh, she's overplaying," or "She went to the wrong person and I don't like that person." But Drew, I think, thinks he did it. So
Mm-hmm.
she's assembling this and also making it seem like it's not really her. And I think that's very subconscious. I don't think she tried to do that, but I think because she has like a very kind demeanor, and I think people are generally going to underestimate her, I think that's going to work totally in her favor. And if you lend any credence to the preview, Drew's in a little bit of trouble, and J Maya and Sifu could be in a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
trouble. I don't really think they would get rid of Julie. And even if they are going to chalk it up to tribe strength, like you guys are talking about, they can get second place and
Yeah.
still be fine, you know?
And I think Jay Maya right now is kind of fitting that not the strongest player on the tribe role instead of Julie. You know, I think they might be interchangeable there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Julie's in with her people. So, Alexa, you said you had a yellow in your top 5. So who is this?
It's Mr. Lululemon. I have
Okay.
Sean at number 5.
Okay.
I think he feels like the common denominator of that entire tribe. I am here for Emily's redemption, but that still can change. You know, she's like learning, or she, in her words, she is learning this live. Sabaya, we're starting to see her get like a little confident, and I really like that. And she could be fine, but Caleb, I think, is really the nucleus. But Caleb and Sabaya were close, and now I think they could sort of be fighting for top dog a little bit.
Yeah.
And Sean over there is participating in challenges. The only thing he was talking about is challenges. He's a school principal. These 3 people are probably nothing compared to what his day job is, or he just is used to this. So I think he's really cut out to make it to the merge. And I really like him. I think like a lot of people are saying he's quiet, but I think just like comparatively to who he's around, he seems quiet, but I think he's great. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go ahead, Phil.
No, go ahead, Lindsay. Go ahead.
I think he's going to be the swing vote, not the swing vote because there's only 4 people on the tribe, but I think he's going to be the deciding factor between who goes home if Lulu were to go to tribal council again, because I'm curious to see if Sabaya and Caleb start butting heads. I think Emily's going to go with Caleb, and we have to decide, okay, is Sean going to go with Sabaya, or is he going to send Sabaya home? I think he's in a really great spot right now. I honestly think he's in the best spot on the Lulu tribe.
Totally.
So here's where I go with Sean. And so from the quiet perspective, Alexa, he has 5 confessionals, which is the fewest on his tribe, but would be more than everybody except for Drew and Austin on the red tribe, and would be even with half of blue. So it's not like he's down there that far, but compared to the rest of his tribe, he's a little quiet. What I worry for Sean is if Sabaya ends up being somebody they target and she doesn't see it coming, Caleb seems really set on working with Emily. Yeah. And I don't know if Sean is going to realize how tight they are until it's a group of 3 and he says, "Ooh, I can't do anything about this." Because I feel like whichever side he goes with, he might be the odd man out of the pairing. It doesn't seem like he's got a really tight ally there. So I do worry a little bit, not so much this week, but if they lose again, I think he goes from being in the best spot to potentially the worst spot, hands down, because the other 2 people on that island just might like each other more.
Yeah, that's a good point about him not having a number 1.
Yeah, but he only has to not have a number 1 for just a short amount of time. He just has to make it to the merge, right? And as long as everybody wants to keep him around for that number, I think he's in a safe spot. He's not a threat to anybody right now.
Yeah.
If you were to look at the Lulu tribe and you were to say, okay, who are the issues on this tribe? You've got Emily, obviously, but at what point are Sean and Caleb and Emily going to recognize that like Sabaya's kind of running things?
You get to that an idol.
Yeah, you get to that point where you're kind of like, wait a second. It's similar to us. I didn't realize Carla was running things until it was too late, but you eventually start to realize it. And my tribe started to realize it. When is this tribe going to realize that, like, wait a second, Sabaya is an ally for us, but like, she's kind of calling the shots. I don't want her calling the shots. I want to be the one calling the shots.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I really want to see what goes on with her and Caleb.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think it's as happy as they were trying to make it
know.
out to be in episode number 1
Yeah.
for sure. But Lindsay, who do you have at 5?
So I have Drew. I went ahead and pivoted over to the Reba tribe. I actually have Drew and Julie. Drew's my 5, or I have Drew's my 5, Julie's my 6. I really love their dynamic. Everyone's talking about how Drew's playing a loyal game. Austin goes and tells Drew about his advantage, which just blew my mind. Like, why? Why are we this many seasons in and you're telling people about advantages that you have? I understand that you want to build trust. I promise you can build trust in other ways out there. Like,
Emily did a great job with the shot in the dark.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, the second I saw that, I was like, wait, why didn't I do that? And everyone asked me like why I didn't play my shot in the dark. And I said to them, if I had played my shot in the dark and I wasn't the one going home, I would have had to have gone back to my tribe and prove to them that I didn't trust them. And they kept saying, trust me, trust me, trust me. It's not you tonight. And then I play my shot in the dark. And they ended up not voting me out and going with Gio, who they said they were going to vote. What does that say to them? I think we saw that in this episode. So I love that Emily did that. And I kind of wish that, if I had been put in that situation, I would have done the same thing. So.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought it was very creative.
Yeah. Emily's starting to grow on me. I kind of love her.
I like her.
Yeah.
So excited. I have Brando at number 5, who you both had. I mean, still top. I think he's in a really good spot. I'm not worried about him really at all, to be honest. And then I do have Drew at 6. I think it's kind of going to be blown out of proportion that this guy is we can't trust him now. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that.
Yeah.
I think Drew in this last episode was so trustworthy and was so honest with everybody that whatever this little blip is going to just be a blip. I don't think it's going to really matter. It might matter way down the line in this season, but I don't think it's going to matter in this pre-merge phase of the season. So I put him there. I like the game he's playing. I like that he is playing a very super confident game. And I kept calling him, what was it, Skinny Mitchell? Like after Skinny Ryan and Mitchell. Like he is so much more confident than those two people are. And it's almost weird to see it because it's the archetype that goes out there, is starving, is exhausted, has nothing to them. But he is playing the game. I love that he was able to figure out the little puzzle, get the safety without power. If he feels something coming, he's going to walk out of that tribal council. So I'm not worried for him at all, because if they try to blow him up at tribal council, he's going to play safety without power and walk out. And then they have to figure out who they want to vote out of the other 5. So I think he's pretty much as safe as you can be, even though I have him 4th on that tribe. I just really like that tribe. I think that's a good spot.
I love Drew. I actually am I've got a few fantasy survivor pools. I've got Drew as like my winner pick in one of them.
Nice.
I really, really loved his energy in his preseason press. I'm starting to see a little cockiness, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I was actually really disappointed when I saw it, and I was like, no, like not yet. Like, let's get a little bit more. Yeah. Like we're not there yet. I don't mind if he were to do it after the merge, but, I don't want that to be his downfall. I feel like he's got a lot to offer, and there's a lot more game left in him. And I kind of want to see him go really far. So,
yeah. Alexa, who's your 6?
I have Katura at number 6. So I think, like, even though we're getting like her being against someone, it seems like she's right. Like she's like Drew, not Drew. She's like, Bruce is so annoying, and then Bruce does like 8 annoying things. But so like that, or funny. Like Jake loves it, she doesn't. But I think they're like, I think he's kind of a ham. I don't know him very well, but I mean ham in a positive way.
Yeah.
So I think like she's not targeting him though. She's just annoyed by him. And maybe if they get to a point where they have to show their cards at tribal council, I could see her bringing him up, but I don't think she would like force everyone else's hand, because she knows that everyone else really likes him. So it's interesting that like we're getting this insight from her. She also put this target on Jake, or actually Kendra brought Jake up, and then she just kind of like shoved him a little more. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I think hopefully he'll be fine. But anyways, I think we're getting like a deeper perspective from her than anyone else on that tribe. And so I think that honestly, that's just a good sign for her longevity.
Yeah.
I'm so at my number 7, I have Bruce, and I'm the only one on Team Bruce here. So Bruce, just remember if you're listening, who's got your back and who's your real friends, because I actually believe that Katura is coming off as too like single-minded on this topic.
She's very on a one-track mind.
It feels so out of nowhere. She was brilliant in episode number 1. She lied about her age, she lied about her job, everything was working for Katura. And then in episode 2, it was, I don't like this guy because he's a celebrity.
He talks about Kane too much.
Yeah, she's worried about name dropping, and he name drops Kane. And everybody in Survivor had to look up, like, Kane was a person who played Survivor. Wow, even though he was really on last season.
I don't know where I found this. There was some I don't know if Exit Press or what, but so he apparently name dropped like Ethan and Parvati. No shade to Kane, but like bigger names. So what makes it even funnier is that Survivor decided to only show Kane.
Yeah. So, but I actually think that Bruce, I keep going back to this Kelly confessional, but I think that Bruce and Jake are super tight. And
I do too.
I think that if they were to lose this week at final 16, there is the chance that if you vote Bruce out, you lose again the next week and the next week. And all of a sudden now you don't even have the numbers. It's almost like the Evie tribe almost fell into it, but it actually really worked out for them. But when they voted out Bochy and they voted out Abraham back to back, they almost were like, whoa, okay, now we're running out. But then the Ricard tribe just fell apart. I do think that they would want to keep Bruce one more week. Because also if everybody's already kind of on board with voting out Bruce, but maybe you can vote out somebody who's a little bit weaker in challenges, get Bruce next time. And you already know that you don't want him to go too far in the game, because it's amazing how being on people's TV for 14 seconds gives you such a celebrity status. It really is unbelievable. People don't really understand that psyche of I've seen you like in a different light. But I think he's going to be okay here. I think I didn't like how it was looking for Katura. I felt like it was taking what was a really awesome episode 1 and it was simplifying it to a point of why. And so I just put Bruce here at number 7. I have still really high hopes for Katura, but I have Bruce.
Yeah. My red flag there was them showing Katura talking about her being the leader of the tribe so early on.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not going to end well.
Never good.
No.
And she wants to be the leader, and she wants to go head to head with a guy who's clearly like just falling into that role anyway. So just let him go.
So here's the thing, and I know it's hard for me as somebody that's already played the game. There's so much we're missing. Okay. When you go into those confessionals, it may not be that she's sitting there immediately talking junk on Bruce.
Totally.
They're egging you on. They're asking you how you feel about certain things. Hey, Lindsay, I noticed this conversation that you were having with so-and-so on the beach earlier today. Why don't you tell me about that? Why don't you tell me how you feel about that? And they go down the line and they talk about each person, but we're only seeing her talk about this one person. She could be talking about everybody that way, and we're just not aware of it. So I'm trying really, really hard not to focus too much on the Katura Bruce issue that we're having, but if I did have to say, like, if Bella were to go to tribal council right now, who do I think the target would be? And I think it would be Bruce.
Yeah, I agree.
Who do you have at 7? Since Bruce is clearly not in your 7 spot, who you got?
Bruce is not in my 7. I've got D in the 7. And she's she's there. Again, I love her. I think she's got a great personality. I love it when she's on my TV screen. I just don't have enough from her yet to be able to decide like if she's in a great spot or a not great spot. Do I think if they went to tribal council that she's going to be the name that everybody goes for? Absolutely not. So she's kind of in the middle for me.
Yeah, that's a good assessment.
Yeah.
I have Austin at 7 and Drew at 8. They're kind of interchangeable for me. I think I don't like know what this whole Drew thing is. It might not even be that. You see like Drew digging and D as the confessional. They could be about 2 completely different things. But also Austin doesn't have a vote right now. They do have fire. So if he gets to that point, I think he'll be fine. But he like put his faith in Drew, as Drew also put his faith in his entire tribe. But Drew wants to be the king of the castle, as he said. And so
Mhm.
he very easily, maybe he does get threatened, but he gets caught digging in the dirt. And he goes, well, actually, Austin found this, and throws Austin under the bus. Austin doesn't have a vote to defend himself. So I don't think that would happen because the two of them seemed super tight at the end of this episode. But I think both of them are in a good position, but they both have something that could be working against them that could get them in trouble. And again, like as we get closer to the merge, strength matters less and less. And Sifu is gigantic, so I think they'll be fine with him.
Did you guys notice how Drew was like, I want Austin to be my the JT to my Steven?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right,
I'm like,
that's not what you want.
That didn't work out
Yeah.
well. Like, is that really what you want?
You do realize you lose
Season-
7-0
Yeah.
embarrassing fashion. Like,
Yeah.
And he also was like, Austin, he's good looking, he's athletic, he's this, and I'm smart. I was like,
Yeah.
you just listed 5 amazing things about Austin.
Yeah.
all anybody talks about is how awesome and athletic and great and handsome JT is. You don't want that person.
No.
No.
But I also
No
don't
hot
get
people.
Steven vibes from Drew as much as I think he wants us to. Again, I
Yeah.
think he's too confident. Steven's first time out in Token Chains, he was not this confident guy. And I know in second season, he like fell apart. I think he was like overwhelmed, whatever. He had the gastrointestinal distress. But he's a very confident guy now because of what he's done in his life and because of the podcast and because he's played Survivor twice. That first time in Token Chains, he needed somebody to lean on. He needed JT. Drew doesn't need Austin. I think that's where it's different. And I almost wonder how much of that Drew realizes, because I think he's almost making a false comparison. I don't think he is that Steven type player 5 or 6 days, however many days we are into the season.
I wanted to see this arc from him, this like caterpillar that turns into a beautiful butterfly. It's just happening too fast, too soon, and he's getting way too confident. Like I was kind of hoping Drew would have, these like goofy moments, and he was like having trouble finding his footing, and I'm the outsider, and how do I find my way in, and that's not happening. And I don't know, I'm worried for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still had him. No, you haven't. Oh, you had Drew at 5. So you did have.
Wait, where did I have?
had
Again, that's just because I feel like their tribe's in a really good spot right now. So.
All right. Well, who do you have at 8, Lindsay?
Me? I have Austin.
Okay.
Again,
So you're the lowest on him, but not much lower than Alexa.
Right. He has no vote right now, but he's in a majority alliance. Again, the only reason I put him there is because I've chosen the bottom 2 of each tribe, and he's not in there for me, but I also don't think he's in the safest position. So that's kind of why I put some of these people in the middle spots.
I should have just said Katura before when I said Bruce at 7. I should have just said Katura at 8 because I had her at 8, but I was so busy defending my Brucey that I had to just let it go. But I have Katura again. I think she's fine. I think that the Bruce Katura thing is being overplayed. I don't think him as the first person voted out of that tribe.
They need some drama on that tribe because it seems like a pretty good tribe.
Yeah. It'll come.
It's there.
So speaking of drama, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this name out of here fast. And I apologize because like I have to go on my little spiel here, but I am putting at number 9, Emily from the Yellow Tribe.
Wow.
Wow.
From the Yellow Tribe.
And I am going almost entirely based off of edit, but I need to get this off because people were commenting early on in this podcast. So yes, Alexa and I went to Miami, and yes, last night was the most embarrassing thing in the history of maybe football, where all we had to do was kneel. And instead our coach decided to run a play. The guy fumbled, and then the other team went down and scored a touchdown. And literally he snapped the ball with 33 seconds left and the other team didn't have a timeout. So all he had to do was kneel. And he instead did that. And then when he went to face the press conference, being a coach for college kids who aren't getting paid, or maybe they have NIL now, so whatever, but who are not getting paid, he went up there and blamed his running back and said, well, he should have put 2 hands on the ball. Now, that wasn't his exact words, but he said, we talked about 2 hands on the ball.
Pretty close.
Yeah, he said, we talked about 2 hands on the ball rather than saying, we should have just taken the knee. It's my fault. It's on me, blah, blah, blah. He puts it on a college kid. So what does that have to do with Emily? Accountability, knowing when you're in the wrong and knowing how to make it right. And here's a financial analyst who probably hasn't played many sports in her life, who understands that accountability better than the head coach at a Power 5 university. So Emily and Mario Cristobal. Emily, you are towering over that man. I cannot believe he threw his player under the bus after he made the most boneheaded play in the world. Must be nice to make 10 mil a year and not be held accountable. So Emily.
I hope Emily's listening and she's like rapidly Googling who this is.
Who Mario
I don't know about this.
The one that has gigantic loser written next to his head right now because it was ridiculous, it was pathetic, and it was embarrassing. But Emily, on the other hand, comes on strong, driving her tribe absolutely insane. And then is talked to by Caleb, and she realizes if I want to do something, I need to stop. And I need to change up my personality a little bit. I have to change who I am, but I need to change how I'm approaching people, how I'm doing this. She didn't say, no, it's your problem. She did that a little bit at first because she was being defensive after the fake tribal council. But she then turned around and said, this is something I need to do. Mm-hmm. And I think getting that edit, you were talking about Drew already. Episode 1, he's this underdog, whatever. Now all of a sudden, episode 2, he's cocky. Emily went from the villain we've been craving to the underdog in literally 25 minutes. It was ridiculous. So now I'm rooting for Emily. I think Caleb sees 1, somebody he can beat, 2, somebody he can control. So I think that's why he would rather work with her than Sabaya, who all of a sudden is going to get an idol and maybe not want to share it. That's not good. Yeah. I think Emily went from the easy first boot to maybe I have her in the best spot, but in the best spot on that tribe because they're all going to start worrying about each other. Yep. And I think Caleb will go to bat for her so hard. So that just says if you're accountable for your actions, good things will happen to you, in my opinion. And nothing good is going to come of Mario Cristobal and what he did to his team. It was very sad. But anyway, here we are.
You did it. You made the connection, Phil.
I've been thinking about. I took 2 showers today, so I could get that out.
Rachel's like, thank goodness.
Anyway, who do you all have at 9?
That was a pretty good sell for putting Emily higher than where I have her, to be honest. I have Jake at number 9. I have him like in the lower half of the Bello tribe, but I just like find him very endearing, but I feel like people like him. I think because he's a baby lawyer, quote unquote, he's not super intimidating. Otherwise, like in terms of his alliances, it seems like he really likes Bruce, and that's about it. But there's kind of a guys thing plus Kelly. So I don't know. I think he's fine. I don't think there's anything like offensive about him that could get him voted out.
Why do you think he fell down?
I don't know. Maybe he inhaled. It looked like he was coughing, but it was quiet. I don't know. I am Lindsay. You're the medical professional here. That is not my.
I think he just got lightheaded. It is really easy to get lightheaded out there, especially when you're spending so much time. He was around the fire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There was smoke. Yeah.
It is so easy to get lightheaded, especially when you're in that heat. And it looked like they were on the beach as well, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe?
I think so.
Okay. I don't think it's as bad as they're making it out.
I almost wonder, do you think he could potentially be doing something stupid like Mike Holloway did, where it was like, I decided to eat a scorpion and now I feel like crap? Like, do you think like maybe he just did something dumb and now he's like keeling over, like spitting it out or throwing it up or something? Like the way he fell didn't look like he was in danger of collapse. I don't know. I'd have to. I watched it twice today. I'm gonna have to rewatch it again. This person is 100% choking.
He could be choking. That's a good.
They get a reward, and he just gets a little too excited about it.
Maybe there were like, I don't know. Some people were speculating like something kind of intense, which I would hope that if that's what it was, they wouldn't put that on TV or like use it as like a tune in on Wednesday kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what do I know? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's joking.
Well, who do you have at 9, Lindsay?
So I have Sean. I think out of the Lulu tribe, the person least likely to go home, should they go to tribal council again, is Sean. You make some great points about Emily. I know that Sean and Caleb are seeing a lot of value in Emily right now. And as somebody who played, it is really hard to wrap my head around the fact that somebody like Emily is going to make it farther in this game than myself, who, in my opinion, I was extremely liked by my tribe and I brought a lot of value to my tribe and zero negativity. I don't want to say zero, maybe like 98% negativity. But yeah, I'm loving Emily's like character storyline / arc that's going on right now. I'm loving seeing her find her footing in this game. I'm loving her seeing like her faults in this game. Her confessionals are just so emotional, and I'm truly enjoying her. At the very beginning, I thought to myself, like, when I watched her on the mat when she was calling out Bruce and just some of the harsh things that she's saying, I'm thinking to myself, like, you love this game, you know how this game works. At any point did you watch previous episodes of this game and think like, oh, that's a good idea, I should probably do that, that's going to help me get really far in the game? But again, I think these individual moments and that Sean and Caleb are having with her are making them love her. And they're seeing her faults, but they're also seeing the good sides of her as well. I think even Sabaya said something during tribal council, and Emily kind of looked at her and, you know, gave her that moment where she was like, I feel seen, right? And so anyway, I've got Sean because I think he's the safest in Lulu for now. Just for now.
Yeah. Emily is funny. She had many funny moments, like of her own doing. I loved that moment at tribal council. I thought that was hilarious.
Also,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it helps when you are so abrasive right off the bat, and then all of a sudden you start to turn around. People are like, oh, that's growth. I kind of like being around you.
We have a low bar.
That might really be helping her. She went from a -10 to a 0, and everybody's like, whoa, this is great.
Like, she set the bar low, right?
So that's true.
Doesn't hurt.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah. No, I really want Emily to stick around, and it's not because she's the long lost villain that we've been waiting for. I'm not a fan of villains. I don't love them. I'm not a villainous person in my everyday life. I love positivity and like kindness. So but I'm loving her, and I really, really hope she sticks around for a while. So yeah.
I have Sean at 10, so I'll just throw him in there. I'm really happy to say I think that Caleb and Sabaya might go head to head here. I think it was a fake out in episode 1, and I think they might be going head to head this week. So I'll put Sean at 10. You all talked about it. He's in a pretty good spot. Don't see them gunning for him this week, but I just wanted to have the hot take of Emily as the safe person on yellow. So
I like it.
Whoever wants to go next with their 10.
I'll put Bruce at number 10. I love Bruce. This is so low for him. I don't know. I think his name will totally come up and he would probably get votes, but I just, is he just silly? Like, would you vote someone out for being silly? I don't know. I can't, I guess, you're right. You would know better than I would. It just, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's because he's the returnee, and so he automatically feels like some kind of hero to like a viewer, but I still think he's pretty safe. But at the same time, I have him at the number 5 of 6 of his tribe and number 10. So I do think he's in trouble, and I think he knows that. But he went on a journey and didn't get anything. So he's like kind of out of luck for finding something. So he really needs people on his tribe to work with him, which is already a little bit shaky right now. So he's probably fine, but I have him in my bottom section.
I'm really disappointed he chose not to risk his vote.
That was
I get
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Look, your vote is everything out there, right? If you don't have your vote, but that was easy.
It looked easy.
That puzzle was so easy. Yeah. Well, we saw why Brandon didn't get it, right? He made a huge mistake. Yeah. He rushed through it, but that was an easy puzzle to solve. Could Bruce get voted out because he's goofy? No. Bruce is going to get voted out because Bruce is bossy to people that don't like being told what to do.
So true.
When you look at Julie, right? Okay, Julie, and this is a hard position to be in when you're the older mom character, right? You need to go out there and figure out the people that you're there with. She said it correctly, which she was like, Drew's out here. Drew needs a mom out here. So I'm going to be that mom to him. Now, is she being the mom to everybody? No, I think she's getting a read on everybody and figuring out who she needs to be the mom to, who she needs to be the friend to, who she needs to be the older sister to, who she needs to kind of steer clear from. I don't feel like Bruce is doing that. Don't get me wrong. I love Bruce. I absolutely love Bruce. My concern is that he is dealing with a bunch of younger people. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like out there where you're like, I really wish you guys would hurry up and get this stuff done and then take a nap and then relax and then go swimming and, doing these things that aren't significant to what we need to get done in the tribe to be successful, today. I think it's going to be his downfall.
That's true.
Really
he's not adjusting, and he's not, we are not seeing a lot like pure self-awareness, which is not good if you're potentially going to be at tribal council.
Find the person out there that wants that dad figure, but otherwise you need to stay clear of that and no matter how much it's driving you crazy that they're not prioritizing some of the chores that need to be done around camp, and instead of doing other things, you've got to keep your mouth shut. People do not like being told what to do.
Yeah, that's true. I should.
I agree.
That was convincing. I should move him.
So who do you have at 10 then?
Me?
Yeah,
I've got Caleb.
Okay.
Caleb.
So I feel like Sean's in the best position, and then I didn't have Caleb high up at the beginning of the season. I thought to myself, he's going to be a target right away. I think he's very flashy. His name was in everybody's mouth in pregame press. Everybody was talking about him. Those are the people that go home, the people that are on your radar. I felt like Caleb needed to fly under the radar. I am eating my words right now. I'm really enjoying Caleb as a player. I'm loving his relationship with Emily right now. I love that he's kind of bonding with everybody on the tribe. I kind of feel like even though he's not leading the tribe, he's kind of the glue that keeps everybody together. So I'm going to be sad if he goes, but I feel like putting Caleb in that 10th spot is a good place for him right now. Seeing as he's on the losing tribe. Yeah,
I have Caleb at 11 for kind of the same reason.
Okay.
And he like you said, his pregame was like kind of saucy, and now he's really mellowed out. And it's probably because like they keep losing, but maybe there's no turning back on them. They're not going to get united in time for a merge. So why does it matter to have a good leader? So you're totally right there.
And I think he's making some great points. The fact that he is not only the fact that he's seeing value in Emily and he's seeing how valuable she can be for his game, but also wanting to keep her around because there's a small part of me that thinks that he wants to see her succeed in this game. And he wants everybody to see the great parts about her that he's seeing in her. I think he really, honestly, at this point, I think if you were to ask Caleb, like, who's the person that you want to take to the merge to be, a number for you, I wouldn't be surprised if he said Emily.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that. I think it would be.
Yeah.
And that's, I have Caleb lower, but I think that what's going to happen is Sabaya throws out Caleb's name. Now Caleb has to go at Sabaya, but there's always the chance everybody does decide to side with Sabaya, and then Caleb goes home. So that's why I have Caleb lower. But I do think that Caleb and Emily, that could be the alliance of two that comes out of this absolute chaos on yellow. Who I have Jake at 11. Sorry, I just want to throw that one in. I don't think so. Lindsay, you haven't said him yet, but I have him at 11. I think that this is a fake out. I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think that this is that big of a deal. And they had mentioned Jake in the first episode, and that kind of just went away in the second episode, and it became all about Bruce. So I don't know. I'm not buying that Jake would be the person to go home if they were to lose this week.
No.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you're 11.
So I have Emily at 11. You guys obviously know how I feel about her. But back to Jake, my issue with Jake, and this is shocking, is I don't feel like he's got a great place in his tribe.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly thought him and Brando would have reversed roles. I'm shocked that Jake, who has such a great personality, isn't bonding with his tribe mates more. I feel like the fact that him and Bruce are on the bottom was like really shocking to me coming into episode 2. And I don't know if maybe there's a relationship that Jake has behind the scenes that we're not aware of, but nobody's talking about him. But why wouldn't you want to make Jake one of your numbers? You know, he like, what's the issue with Jake? I like him. I actually had him as one of my winner picks in one of my pools. So, so I'm surprised he's not performing at the level that I thought he would be.
I love his accent, but otherwise I don't know. I don't know who he likes. He likes Bruce, and we were told that once. But otherwise, to your point, like people are sort of talking about him, but no one's saying I want to work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why not? What are we missing
What's
here?
the problem? Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know. And maybe Jake might be the one on Blue that we kind of know the least about in terms of where he's at with the tribe, because it seems like he just wants Bruce, but that's it. With the women, we really know, even if we don't know exactly where they stand, we know what their reasoning is behind where they want to align and things like that. And we saw what Brando's game is. We saw what Bruce's game is. I feel like Jake's game has been, I think Bruce is funny. End of story. Like, that's really the content I feel like we've gotten from him.
Yeah, but the issue is, and this is something that we saw similar on our tribe, was it was like there was the 4 of us, which was James, Carla, Cassidy, and me, and then you had Ryan and Gio. And like, that's great that you got a twosome, but like, what are you going to do with that? Yeah, like Bruce and Jake can work together, but what are you going to do with that? I need to see more from them. Who are you wanting to pull over to your side? Why aren't we seeing Jake bond with anybody else? Maybe Jake and Brando. Maybe Brando's going to recognize that he's at the bottom of a 4-person alliance. I don't know. I think we're missing a lot of conversations right now. So
yeah, 2 is not enough for 6.
Yeah.
No.
I remember, I always love to think about Caramoan when like Eddie and Reynold got together and they had Hope and the other girl, and they're like, well, this is our alliance. Great. There's 10 people. Awesome. Well done. But at 12, I actually end the Blue Tribe here. So I have Kendra at 12. So after all that talking up the Red Tribe, I still think the Blue Tribe has maybe the least amount of chance of losing. But I also, I feel like more confident in who I have at the bottom of the Red Tribe. So I'd rather put Sifu and J Maya a little bit lower in hopes that if there's an upset this week, it's Red that loses and not Blue that loses. So I'm going to bank on Blue still pulling this out, and I put Kendra there. I don't really even think Kendra's in that bad of a spot, but it's kind of why I have Jake at 11, her at 12 is just, I don't know. Those are the 2 that I feel like it would come back down to. I know you keep saying Bruce, Lindsay, but I do feel like Bruce might be able to pull out at least one tribal because of the lack of physical strength on that tribe. And so I think that could work in his favor if they were to lose this next one. And then it comes down to Jake and Kendra, because Kendra's getting along really great with the women. And Brando, it seems like, you know, she's also getting along with, but we haven't really, I don't think we've seen them one-on-one at all. Her and Jake and her and Bruce, it doesn't feel like I don't know if they've had conversations. Like, we haven't seen those conversations.
Yeah, I have Kendra in the same spot. I hope she doesn't go home. I think she's hilarious. I love her, but I don't know. She's like all in on the girl thing, and I feel like the person who's usually all in is like, I've seen so many women's alliances just like not come to fruition, and I feel like maybe she thinks like, okay, we're good, but Kelly clearly doesn't feel that way, and Katurah might, just because she wants to get rid of Bruce. I don't really know where Kendra stands strategically. It seems like everyone likes her, but I don't know. There's just not enough.
I don't think she's strategic. I honestly put her so high up on my list because I think Katurah is going to need her. You know, when we look at pairs on the Bello tribe, we've got Jake and Bruce, we've got Kelly and Brando. By default, we now have Kendra and Katurah, and I think Katurah is going to recognize that. I think Katurah, even if maybe Katurah isn't the person that she wants to be her number one, by default, it's going to be her number one.
That's true.
But I'm also not sure if people recognize how close Kelly and Brando are. I think they know how close Jake and Bruce are. I think Kelly knows that Katurah and Kendra are close because she's in that alliance with them. I'm wondering how quiet Kelly and Brando's alliance and bond is.
And that could be the swing on that tribe of they're the ones in the middle. At least that's how it was played up in this last episode.
Yeah.
We found out where everybody stood, and then Brando and Kelly started talking. And
yeah,
maybe I should have had. I mean, I had Brando at 5, so I couldn't really put him that much higher. But,
Yeah.
I should have him even higher. Although he did start like the worst trend of all time, and I don't need to see Rob Cesternino putting a buff around his life. Like, thanks.
Hey, the things you do to get some votes. I mean, I feel like he just wanted to be like one of the girls that day.
I loved it. I think he looked great.
I don't understand why everybody wears buffs as clothes. It's so uncomfortable. You can like see through it. It's like,
and does it stretch it out?
Yeah, it's just like, ugh. I didn't realize this until the challenges. Did you know people wear 2 buffs during the challenges? So like, let's say you're going to wear the buff as a top, you wear the buff that wardrobe gives you, and then you wear your buff on top of it. So everybody has 2 buffs on.
Did not realize that.
I missed that. Oh, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
That's fun. Okay. Well, that's a fun little tip.
Sounds like you can, that sounds like you can't breathe.
I never, I think I wore it with like my sports bra one time. They're just not comfortable. Maybe I'm just not petite enough, but it just, everything stretches and it's just,
Also, though, if you're playing in our power rankings games for all you patrons or our fantasy game, you win a buff. So you can wear it is what it comes down.
Wear it however you want.
Just don't wear it is what Lindsay is saying.
Send us a picture of how you're wearing
it. I have many different ways. Leading up to Survivor, one of the things I prepared for was different ways that I could wear a buff on TV. Yes, but a skirt and a top was definitely not one of them. So
a skirt. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could. I don't know.
No, I got hips. So
Lindsay, who do you go at number 12?
Number 12, I've got Jake. Yeah, I feel like again, my 12 through 16. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the people that are on the bottom of each one of my tribes, and I definitely think aside from Bruce, Jake has the biggest chance of going home on Bello this week.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
as well.
Yeah, Jake and Blue. We talked about Blue. I think all of us though. Alexa, you've rounded out your Blue, right? Was Kendra your last Blue?
Yeah.
So we all have every Blue member in the top 12. So we're feeling pretty good about Blue going into this week. None of us are really concerned that that's going to be the tribe that loses. My 13, I have Caleb, and I know you both already had him. I want to put Caleb higher. I think he's playing a good game. That yellow tribe, I'm just so worried that they're going to keep losing, and it really is going to become him versus Sabaya because they're going to be fighting for power on that tribe. And the reason why I have Sabaya as the lowest ranking member of that tribe is because she doesn't have a vote on a 4-person tribe.
Yeah.
Right.
Vote on a 4-person tribe. She could very easily melt that wax, but then I almost wonder, will they sit there as a group of 3 and say, let's just get rid of her so she doesn't have an idol?
Can we talk about the melt waxing thing? Why isn't she just sitting it out in the sun?
You know, that's
such a good idea.
The Fijian sun is so hot. I would find a spot that nobody's going to go. She's told everybody about it anyway.
Yeah.
Why are you not just letting it sit and melt in the sun?
That's such a good idea. I bet they're not letting her. I bet the whole thing is the fire.
Do they have
that would have been better?
They have a pot, right?
Yeah, you got. Oh no,
they have something. Didn't they get something?
They have a pot.
They did. They got the pot and the machete.
The pot, it's black. You put that in the sun. Maybe you flip it over. Wouldn't that get pretty hot pretty quick?
I would vote you out immediately if you put wax in my pot.
No, on the bottom of it.
Like, again.
They can't put anything in it right now.
No, but you would never be able to get that wax out of that pot.
Yeah, well, what would you scrape it off with?
Nothing. You just have to put it on the bottom. You couldn't put it in it.
No, you could use like bamboo or seashells or something like that.
Give
but
everybody something to do. I'm doing the tribe.
It is.
They have said plenty to do.
It is so hot out there. There is no reason why you couldn't just like find a little coconut shell or a clam shell or something like that out there and just let it roast under the sun.
A lot of people are asking why not just at tribal council, just like everybody knew you had it, so just sit it next to the fire.
Marshmallow it. Just roast.
I don't know if Jeff would let that, but you just put it on the rocks right around it. It would just cook away.
I think
he wouldn't let that.
He wouldn't let it.
No way.
No. Do you guys know how big that fire is? So big and so massive, and it is so expensive. I doubt very highly he's going to let it get ruined by wax. But there are options out there. Yeah, there are options out there.
Yeah. I also feel like you said this at the beginning, like she could very easily make a fire. I don't think they could very easily. I don't think there's a fire coming for them. They have to win a
Did nobody
challenge.
practice? Did nobody practice how to make a fire without Flint?
They
I don't
definitely
know.
did not.
How would this is why I'm not on Survivor. How would one in like the elements that you're working with? How would they do it?
They were doing that in the early seasons.
Absolutely,
You could use friction. You could use
Mm.
friction.
It just
And
takes
you-
a lot of arm muscles.
Yeah, it would suck. Don't get me wrong. Like it would suck. I was trying to be so understanding about Hannah's quit because I thought to myself, like, okay, we had Flint, we had a machete, we had a pot those first few days out there. But I also think like there's papaya out there, there's coconut, there's ways for you to break things open. You're not cutting the bamboo down by yourself. You're not cutting those palm fronds down. Like all that stuff is readily available to you. So I don't know, but I would have definitely used the sun to kind of melt that wax, or at least tried. And maybe she did. Like, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she did try to melt it out there and they're just not showing it yet. So
yeah, that's
time
true.
will tell. Yeah.
I forgot she doesn't have a vote.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Go ahead, Alexa.
Okay, my 13, I'm going to put J Maya. I don't know where she's at. I don't she seems very smart. Like she was figuring out that cipher all on her own. She's not in the Alliance of Four, but she's not as, I don't controversial as Sifu. She's just there. I think she's finding challenges. It seems like people are fine with her. But because there is a clear 4, I feel like she could be in trouble. That's all. I don't have a lot to work with her.
Yeah, I mean, I have Sifu and J Maya as my bottom 2 from that tribe, and my concern is I don't know which way they go. What are they going to value if they lose? And are either one of them close with the rest of them? I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like they are.
So I actually picked J Maya in one of my Survivor pools. I drafted her first, and I thought she had an incredible pregame press. I loved her interviews. I loved her energy. I love her story about how, her parents and herself, she grew up thinking that she was going to go to Harvard and Harvard Law. And, it was really hard for her to step away from that and to follow her dreams. And I think she has a great personality. My mind's blown that she is not integrating herself into the Reba tribe more. I honestly think with her personality and her kindness and her sweetness, and, she doesn't have this crazy personality that rubs people the wrong way. I'm surprised she hasn't, found an ally in Julie or even Dee out there. I don't think she's as polarizing as Sifu. I think he can be a lot. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Like if I was on the mat and I saw Sifu doing his Tai Chi stuff out there, the second we hit that mat, that's a lot, him when he was punching the trees, I just thought to myself, God, that must be annoying out there.
Yeah.
Coaches, but not as over the top as Coach.
Yeah. So I have J Maya at 13. I think she's having a really hard time finding her footing out there. And it makes me sad because I think she has a lot to offer us. And I'd love to see more of her in this game.
Yeah, I have her at 14.
Yeah.
I was thinking about putting her at last, but the more we've talked, the more I think they actually would vote out Sifu. So I'm going to put J Maya at 14, and then to end mine, I'm actually gonna go out and take a chance here, and I'm gonna put Sifu at 16, and I'm gonna put Sabaya at 15, and I'm gonna say, okay, Red loses this week. This is Yellow's week. They come together, they unite, everything happens. Still think Sabaya's in a lot of trouble. She doesn't have a vote. If she does get the vote, she might not be as in with that tribe as she thinks. But I think you're right, Lindsay, with Sifu, it might just be too much. And I don't see him connecting with the rest of his tribe on a real personal level right now. And he might be, and we're just not seeing it. But it doesn't feel like it's happening where everybody else feels like they're connecting on a really personal level. There's a clear 4-2 split. J Maya seems like she'd be the easy choice of the two. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I do wonder, like you, though, why are we not seeing more of her personality? Because it seems like she would be cast for her personality. So I am a little confused why we're not seeing that. But yeah, so I'm gonna put Sabaya at 15. I think she will get the votes if all that happens, if they lose. But I'm gonna do a little rain dance here for the yellow tribe and see if we can get them to have the night off just one time.
We can only hope.
I know.
And they can melt their candle. They'll have something to do. They need something to do.
Yes.
Lindsay,
Alexa,
do you want to finish yours up, or maybe
Alexa, we'll let you end.
Oh, okay.
Lindsay, we're gonna put
Side note: do you think they would be allowed to give that candle to another tribe to melt it?
Oh, I would love that.
Is that
right?
giving it away then?
Information, you mean, or
No,
giving
like, is that
the
giving
idol
away your idol because like you're transferring possession to somebody?
No, I mean, the likelihood of it actually happening is like so slim, but I'm just wondering, like the rules of the game. Let's say she's the next person to go on a journey. She brings it with her. She gives it to somebody. She says, hey, I can't melt it. She's probably going to hold on to it. I know that, but I'm just curious to
would that be allowed?
Yeah. I bet that'd be allowed because that would be
Jeff would eat that
up.
He would love it. Yes.
Because then like you give it to Katura, she melts it.
Yeah.
And then maybe Sabaya doesn't make it to the...
Give it to me at the merge.
Yeah, or Katura gets voted out with it. I love it.
Well, okay, let's go a little bit deeper. So let's say another tribe member melts it. Does that mean she gets her vote back?
Exactly. And I would have to assume yes, but also it's does she get her vote back even by just handing that to somebody else? Because now it's no longer hers.
Yeah, the lost vote thing is a little TPD.
Because there was the question, I think it was with Austin's. Because what's Austin's second stage? Did we come up with what his second stage is? I don't remember.
I don't think we know yet.
No, because he hasn't found it yet, right?
So dig at the X.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He has to dig.
But he hasn't done it yet.
I guess somebody then was saying like with Sabaya, I forget what it was, but if they just never found that, does she just never vote the rest of the game? Is that it? Like if is that just she just sits there? I don't get it. Like,
for the ride.
They haven't told us that this would reset at the merge.
Yeah.
And they did that for other idols,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Well, because I also wondered that about Carla's advantage. Like, let's say Carla didn't get the beads in time, but then one of us got voted out, but she still needed to collect, say, my bead or Gio's bead, and she didn't get those. Do they just cross that off the list? Or do they say you didn't get it, therefore you don't get your vote back until the merge? Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a really good question. I don't know.
I know. I want the players to be able to stretch that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. And I don't know if they can ask.
They do.
I would love if she could. There you go.
They ask so many questions. We ask so many questions.
I get it. Things are confusing.
You guys would be shocked at how many questions people ask during challenges.
Really? Like before?
Yeah. Because during the challenge, we have to sit out essentially in like a sit out bench area, and each tribe gets to walk through the challenge with Jeff, and we get to ask whatever questions. When we ask the questions, I'm trying to remember if Jeff then goes over what question we asked and the answer during the walkthrough, because everything has to be even.
Fair.
So like, so let's say we're sitting there waiting to walk through the challenge with Jeff, and we're not in shade, then the other tribe can't be in shade either. Like everything has to be even. Yeah. And so, you'd be shocked at like some of the questions people ask.
I would ask 100 questions.
So many questions. You're just like, stop talking. We are like roasting out here in the Fijian sun. It is so hot. We just want to get this challenge like out of the way. Let's go.
How long do you? Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
No, you go.
How long do you strategize for? I need to move my face.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. We get no time to strategize. None.
Oh wow.
None. Yeah. So
interesting.
But I guess you're also I probably did it the worst out of my season. Like you can even see times where I'm like trying to watch other tribes go through the challenge with Jeff, and I would get yelled at by production, like, Lindsay, turn around. Like you can't keep staring at the challenge. But that's actually the reason, the way that I studied the course as other tribes were walking through the challenge before me, I was able to memorize the puzzle that we did during our first immunity challenge. And I was able to figure out which one would be the easiest, which one would be the middle, and which one would be the hardest. And so when I went to my tribe and they were like, which puzzle should we pick? I was like, pick this one. And everyone's like, that one looks like the hardest. And I was like, I swear to you guys, I've been studying this puzzle like since we got here. It's the easiest one. And I was right, but it's because you're strategizing. So by the time you like get together, you've watched two other tribes like go through the puzzle, and you kind of have it in your head like, okay, I know this person, I know what they'd be good at, I know what this person would be good at. So you don't have a ton of time to talk to each other, but everyone already has their ideas and you just kind of pinpoint. So sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack us. Yeah,
I love this stuff.
It's so fun. I love it.
All right, Alexa.
All right.
Where are we?
Now you end it. 14, 15, 16.
Okay. I think Emily is 14. She still like totally could go home, but I don't know. I like a villain and an underdog. I'll take whatever we get with her. She's really fun. And then Sifu at 15, I think kind of similarly, we're not really seeing him jive with the other tribe. Yeah. There could have been a cool moment. I was rewatching the episode and he was like, if we walked by each other on the street, would we be friends? And I think that's like a cool prompt because probably not. But would anyone actually say that? And then we never got anything out of it. So I don't know if that's purposely showing that there's a disconnect there. And then I'll put Sabaya last. I think like she and Emily are ships passing in the night. Like now Sabaya might be becoming the villain. She may never have a vote for the rest of her life. So that's not good for her. But I really think anyone, including J Maya of those four, are all in pretty big trouble.
Yeah. Lindsay, what do you got?
All right. So number 14, I have Sifu. We're not seeing him play the game. We're not seeing any strategy from him. We're not seeing any alliances. And I also go back to the Spy Shack. The second you start noticing that someone is doing something outside of the norm, it was shady. Yeah. And nobody's talking about it right now, but that's in the back of your mind. When you're out there and you're in a tribe of 6 and everybody's gelling and everybody's getting along, you've got to find any and all reasons to want to vote somebody out. And that's a perfectly good reason. When you've got Austin, Drew, Dee, and Julie who are vibing, J-May, she may not be integrating herself into the tribe necessarily, but she could be a number and she's not an issue. Who's the issue on this tribe right now? It's Sifu. Yeah, so I've got him. If they end up going to tribal, I think he's the one that's going home. 15, I've got Bruce. I think he's target number 1 with Katura, and I think she has the numbers right now. Again, in a tribe where you're trying to find anything wrong with people right now, I think Bruce has the most reasons for people to want him to go home. And then I have Sabaya at 16. I think she's running the tribe. I think someone's going to recognize that and immediately target her. I think they're going to want to take advantage of the fact that she doesn't have a vote right now. I think Emily and Caleb are going to work together. And then you've got Sean, and I think they're going to say to Sean, either you're with us or against us. If you're against us, you're not in the numbers. Come on to our side. Let's get Sabaya out. She's running things, and let's just see where it goes. So
yeah.
We all have Sabaya low, and I ended up not putting her in the last spot. But so this is where I really am confused with Sabaya.
Yeah.
15 confessionals in 2 episodes, most on the show. If she goes home in this, and I get that it is 90-minute episodes, so I get there's a skew here, but also we've seen 2-hour premieres. So really through these first 2 weeks, there isn't that much of a skew because we could have 3 hours of Survivor either way. She has 15 confessionals. If she goes home this episode, she's going to end with probably close to 25 confessionals.
But she gives good confessional.
Yeah, and she's been at tribal council every single week.
But there's a lot of people I feel like who give really good confessionals that don't get that much because they're trying to give it to people who are more important to the game in the long run. And if Sabaya goes home 3rd and she is the star of the show for 3 episodes, I get she went to every tribal council, but why not make Caleb and I mean, Emily is close to being the star of the show. She's pretty much as close as she could be. But like Caleb, Emily, Sean, why aren't they getting so much more? Because they're the ones who take Sabaya down. Sabaya would probably end up with more screen time than people who are going to finish in the top 10 of this season if she went home this week. And I'm not disagreeing with either of you because I have her at spot 15. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it because she's great. I love her. but that's so much investment into a person that is only there for 3 episodes.
All right, well, give me some stats then. Her first episode, how many confessionals did she get?
7
Yeah,
in the
where's
first
everyone
one,
else?
in the second.
Okay, so you said she had 7 in the first episode?
Yeah.
All right, who had the second most?
Hang on, I gotta actually pull up the
Pull
real
up those
one.
facts. Yeah, I guess to me, and I don't like study the edit as much, but I actually wouldn't have I would have guessed Emily had the most confessionals in the season.
Yeah.
Like it feels like Emily said, yeah. I guess it feels, maybe it's because she has such like a smooth voice and it's not like Penner yelling at me, but like she doesn't feel like she's dominating the season. It's probably because the episodes are so
Sabaya?
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love listening to her. I love her
oh my God.
voice.
I want her to read
So-
me a bedtime story. She has a great voice about aliens.
Yeah. I love the Southern draw.
Mm.
I'm just wondering if maybe they're giving her a lot of screen time before they cut her. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, because she is great, and maybe they just want to get as much out of her as they possibly can. That could be all it is.
Yeah.
It was Emily and Brandon had the second most in the first episode. They both
Emily
had
and Brandon.
and
Okay.
and then after that, like Jake had 5, and then you got a bunch of people at 4 and everything like that. I guess where I'm coming from with this question is if Sabaya goes home this week, Emily, they've definitely built up as a long-term character or something. But Caleb and Sean are the other 2, and Caleb and Sean really have not gotten that much content, considering they're on the tribe that loses every time. Caleb has more than Sean. Caleb has as many confessionals as Sabaya had in the first episode.
Yeah, but look at Cassidy in my season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cassidy didn't get tons of screen time, but that's because they saved it for later. No.
Early on, your tribe didn't get much at all. Because I remember that one episode, there was back-to-back where half of you got it one episode, and then the other half got it the next episode. It's like, oh, no, it's the Coco love. Like, that's all it was.
I
We got no love.
None.
We got zero love.
Zero.
You guys got no love.
No.
Caleb's been very around, though. Like,
Sure.
I'm aware of his presence. I don't know.
I think he's going to start getting more and more content. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could
There's
be
a lot
wrong.
of big there's a lot of big personalities on that tribe. And especially when you had Brandon, who's now gone. I mean, Brandon was going to get screen time no matter what. Sabaya seems like that type of person. Emily is definitely that type of person. So maybe it's just who's on the tribe. But we've never quite seen it to that level. Like the Brandon thing of him getting a lot of confessionals and going home second. We've seen that a lot because we see people go on journeys, or we see people separated or back up against the wall right away. But to have it like back to back, if it was to be Brandon and Sabaya, I think would be a pretty jarring, like, whoa, we just lost 2 really big personalities. Because I would bet for casual watchers, Sabaya has to be one of the people that they are connecting with and like feeling like, oh yeah, that girl, she's really good. I really like her. And Emily is, also somebody that they're getting to know. But I would say Sabaya, everybody who's watching the show is expecting to see Sabaya right now.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a little jarring, but we all are pretty much in agreement. I just switched her with Sifu because I'm praying that my little switch there gets red or gets yellow just to be safe real quick. But we're all in agreement.
To play devil's advocate, though, what tribes do we see the most of? The ones that are losing.
Yeah.
Right? The ones that are going to tribal council. And when you look at the 4 of them, Emily's giving good confessional, but she's still the underdog here. Sabaya's running the tribe right now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see her give a lot of confessionals, right? And she's a really great narrator.
Yeah, she is.
When we're going through casting, they keep stressing to us, like, you've got to be a good storyteller. I'm not a great storyteller, but there are a lot of people on this season that are good, and I think Sabaya is one of them. And I'm wondering if they're showing a lot of her right now to kind of make her downfall hit a little bit harder.
True.
Yeah.
And
Lindsay, didn't you have the opening like line of your season? That's a huge honor.
She probably has a
Yeah.
I did. There's actually 2. I had that one, and then I said "Bring It On" at the end. And like to this day, nobody knows that that's me. That's actually the first time I told anybody.
Oh, I'll have to go watch that back.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
awesome.
"Bring it on." Yeah. So it's fun.
That was a good intro.
Honestly, like the thing I hated the most about playing Survivor is the production part. I hated confessionals. Every time they said,
Interesting.
Lindsay, you've got 15, 20 minutes before it's time for you to go on a walk. Like my anxiety was through the roof. My heart would start racing. I never like to go on a walk. I feel like take James. Like James is sitting right there. Take Ryan, Gio. I don't think Gio's gone on a walk yet.
Yeah.
I hated it. I love playing the game. I hated the TV aspect of it. So
I'm with that. I feel like I would want to like get to know people and do challenges, but then to go like talk crap for 15 minutes feels
well,
I
think
I would want
the
to
other
do that.
feels only going on walks.
I didn't have enough time in the game to find my footing when it came to giving confessionals. I think I just kept thinking to myself, like, eventually I'll get more comfortable. Eventually I'll be able to start talking junk. And I just never got there. And then I was not looking back. I'm like, I wish I'd given more in my confessionals. I wish I had been able to say more.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about early in this podcast, about 2 hours ago, about a movie ago.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
talked about the physical, if you're coming out to play, if you're making a decision what to do. But I think the confessional point is a great one, because I think a lot of people don't realize how Survivor is actually made. And I've mentioned Coach a couple times on this episode, but he was a big one where if you watch the first couple confessionals from Coach, he's not as comfortable, and then he starts to feel his way in. And I feel like that's a lot of players.
Yeah.
It's a different personality. And that's why somebody like Rick Devens, when he was on 38, was immediately able to just pop off the screen among other players who have played. But Chris Underwood, who goes on to win, he doesn't get a confessional in his first episode, which is insane because he's barely in any episodes anyway.
Yeah.
It does take people a little bit to get used to the whole idea of, I'm just going to talk to a person and a camera's pointed at me, and you get a little stage fright. Because even though you're on an island, you're still being filmed, and you're going to act or react differently. So I think that's a really good point for people who haven't played, or you're in the casting process and you're listening to this. Think about that before you go out there, because it's something I don't think people ever realize.
I think my biggest fear, and this is like my toxic trait and my superpower, is like I care so much about other people and I try to protect their peace and at all costs. There was one time a producer said to me, Lindsay, you're thinking too much about your answer before you answer me. When I ask you a question, I want you to just go ahead and answer. And I was trying so hard. They had asked me a question about one of the players on my tribe. And I finally looked at them and I was like, if you think for 1 second that you're going to get me on film talking negatively about somebody so they can then come back and watch the show and feel bad, like you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, I'm not going to be that person. I'll talk about gameplay. I'll talk about what's happening inside the game, but like, I'm not going to attack somebody's personality or anything like that, because I would never want to hurt somebody else. And then everybody else is talking junk.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind their back.
One of the most shit
I would have a really, really hard time with that. I think that is like something that would scare me the most about going out there. I'd like to speak ill of someone, especially knowing if they're doing the same for you. And then I don't know. That's what they show. I good for you. I think that's great.
You'd be shocked how many conversations we have before the show airs, where we all get together. We all went to like New Orleans for a weekend, and we're like, all right, one-on-one, what did you say about me in confessionals? And like, I still think some people held stuff back because they were like, let's just pray that they don't show it. And if they do, like, I'll clean up my mess later, but I'm not even going to tell them that I said that. So it's fun. It's all fun and games. Here's the nice thing. When you get back from the game, no matter how scarred you are from what happens in the game, you've all experienced something. And I'm not talking like in a general sense of like all castmates, that you're in one time and place together, just 18 people. And you hold on to that and you try to forget that these people backstabbed you, and you have to remind yourself that like, it is just a game. And that at the end of the day, like, we all love each other and respect each other. And we're all friends.
Awesome.
It's good. Yeah, it's really fun. So,
good. There you go. We'll end on that positive note. But before I actually let you go here, the last one I want to ask is, who's your winner pick?
Right now, let's go.
Ask you, who's your least favorite, so that you now have to to go back on like all your
She's just going to leave. She's just going to log out.
I'm sorry, it's staticky. I can't hear you.
Headphones are off.
So I wouldn't have normally said this, but I think right now my winner pick is between Kelly and Brando.
Love it.
That.
Love
What
it.
about you guys?
Ooh, people usually don't ask that back to us. I gotta look.
I would say
I would say
I don't think Yellow is going to have the winner. I think it's too much of an uphill battle for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Drew is coming across a little cocky. So I would say if it was red, it would be either D or Austin. And if it was blue, man, I would probably say Kelly or Katura, actually, even though I had Katura.
There's no way she's going to win this game.
But the thing is, if she ends up having the Gabler edit of Ellie, where it's like, this is the only thing in my way and it is annoying me, then maybe this is what she needs. And she just votes out Bruce, and all of a sudden everybody's like, well, where'd she go? Oh, she just won the season. I don't know. Like, I really think if I was just betting right now, though, the three people I would say are Kelly, Drew, and D. Or not Drew, not Austin. Austin D.
You said Austin. Here's my thing. Everyone is having Austin as their winner pick. You honestly think people are going to let him get to the end? It's not that I don't think he's capable of winning. It's not that I don't think he has winner qualities. Who's going to let Austin get to the end?
I think what's helping him, though, is that there have been stronger male players who have made it to the end in this new era and lost. And just flat out gotten destroyed. Like, I think even on your season, Owen getting to the end and being a 0-vote finalist helps the physical, smart guys who play this game that generally would be seen as this massive threat. He wasn't. And I mean, obviously last season was way different because it was Carolyn who was the 0-vote finalist. But you have seen Mike Turner lost to Marianne. Yeah. If you would have told me before the season that Mike Turner was going to sit in the final three, I would have been like, great, he has $1 million in his pocket.
Yeah.
So I think that it does help that some of these winner types are losing for those types that go out to play, who can learn from the mistake and then sit there at the final tribal, because I don't think Austin is seen as the biggest threat right now. Honestly, I think players like D and Kelly are seen as bigger threats, because those types of under the radar, really analytical people, because even Marianne, from a gameplay standpoint, was super under the radar early on in that game. Nobody knew she had what she had in her when she got to the end game. I think those are the more dangerous players. It's not the overly strategic. It's just the person who can sit back and really analyze every situation and say, this is where I need to go so I can get to the end.
Yeah. And that's new Survivor, and that's why I love it, because like this is anybody's game at this point. And I can sit there and do all my predictions for the fantasy pools and sit here and tell you guys who like my top pick is. I've never successfully chosen the winner, and I think
it's so hard.
It is. There's just so much game we have left, and that's why I love it. This is anybody's game at this point, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah. It's
Alexa,
awesome.
who would you pick if you're picking right now?
I think
then we're gonna go, because I mean,
this is like the longest predictions ever.
I'm sorry.
In a good way. Like,
no, I really
feel like I'm rushing out. So this is great. He has the hardest road, but I think if Caleb could get there, I would love him to win.
Me too.
I think, and there's not a lot to go off of because we only have 2 episodes, but I think he's awesome. I want to see like the spicy side that we saw at the beginning or in the pregame. So
he has a lot more depth than I thought he did. And I would really like to see him go far. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate you guys inviting me to come hang out with y'all today. This is honestly, awesome. Look, on the island, I didn't get to check off all my Survivor bucket list items, but this is a Survivor bucket list item for me. And I've had so much fun tonight. My kids, we listen to y'all's podcast in the car all the time. My daughter was hyping me up. I said to her, I was like, Madeline, do I wear my hair straight or curly? And she goes, Mom, it is still an Alexa. You have to wear your hair curly tonight.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah. It looks fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. She was like, this isn't just any podcast you record. She's like, this is still an Alexa.
We should probably dress up a little bit more.
I know,
we should put in a little more effort.
She's got humidity out there.
My hair is so bad. I'm wearing a tiger's hat.
Alexa, you can wear a trash bag and you'd still look beautiful. You are fine. Wait, real quick before we get off, am I going to see you guys at all this season? Are we hanging out?
I was wondering. So I didn't go to the New York events. I don't know if you went. I wasn't able to.
I couldn't. I was out of town.
Where are they? I should know this.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm going to be doing maybe DC. That would be I drive there, drive back that night. I'm doing Rap NOLA. in December,
Oh.
and then flying to Hearts of Reality after that. And then I'm doing the Philly Bryson Wynn Presents, which is the downside is like the night before Thanksgiving. So I think
Yeah.
Dang,
I know
that
it's
would
going to be
probably
really
the
hard.
only one that I could go
Yeah, the
to.
fall is always
Yeah.
hard for me because like I would love to go to LA in December when it's the nicest, but it's just so hard when it's around
It
Christmas
is.
and everything like
Yeah.
that. It sucks. And then I'm isolated in South Florida. So honestly, Hearts of Reality.
Yeah,
That
why
might
aren't
be
you
one
coming to meet
Phil.
up? Hearts of Reality.
Yeah,
that
go to
might be my
that.
best chance. That might be my best chance. When is it?
It's the first week in December. I'll message you like on the side, but I think I'll have some downtime there. So I'd love to meet up.
I mean,
if
and I
that's
go up
something
to
you'd be
Orlando
interested in.
all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we love
Okay.
going there. So that's something. But yeah, other than that, it's not convenient for me, and that's why I need to will D to a victory so they get down here.
I think Bryce said he'd
He
see you next season. Can we
did.
have a Bryce appreciation moment real quick? Is
Oh my
Bryce
God.
not the greatest human being ever?
He is awesome.
I love him. I love
Huge
him.
fans. And what him and Wendell are doing with their parties is so awesome. Looking at the schedule, if DC was not next weekend, I would probably go to it.
I know.
I don't know. I think I missed out with the New York one, but
Yeah.
so probably
okay.
next season.
We'll do it next season.
We'll do it.
The spring is always easier. The spring,
okay, cool.
So much higher chances. But anybody else, now you know where Lindsay's going to be. So find her, talk to her. She's nice. We promise.
She's awesome.
Thanks.
And no, this was a really good podcast. I'm glad we were able to get you on. And I told Lindsay, and I won't say what was talked about, but I told Lindsay when we were at the finale that the way I knew that she was going to definitely need to come on our podcast was because I tuned in one time for her Twitter live thing that she was doing with Carla and James and all that. And they were having some graphic conversations. My goodness.
I was like, hang up. I want to hear about this.
We get a little dirty.
Her on the podcast now. So I'm glad that we were able to get you on. I'm glad we were able to talk about this. And 2 hours. That might be the longest predictions episode we've ever.
That's awesome.
Really?
I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you. I finally set a record on Survivor. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, much love to you guys. Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on. Everyone, we'll see you Wednesday at 9:40 p.m. Phil, what are we doing?
Become a patron, patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. Turning your power rankings. Don't forget to do that. If you're playing along,
email us.
Them in, and I'll update all the other stuff for the after show on Thursday. All right. That's it.
Bye, everyone.